for a prayer. The great pastor, Greg Wilk.
Good evening. I'm Pastor Greg from Abundant Life Ministries in Holbrook, and I'm so privileged to be here tonight. Let us join our hands together in prayer as our right hand represents power, our left hand represents God's love and mercy. Father, I pronounce blessings upon this gathering. May we, like Abraham, have faith to move legislation forward. May we, like David, face the challenges to American exceptionalism. May we, like Joshua, amen, as he was buried by the border of his inheritance, protect the principles of our founding fathers and our borders. May we, like, amen, Esther, pray for our nation's security. May we, like Mary, birth by your power, amen, a new beginning and protect life. May we, like Jesus, make sacrifices, like our military, for this great nation. Blessed upon all gathered here. May they take on the challenges with resolve and determination. May Congressman Zeldin be blessed, and I proclaim God bless America in the name of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, in Jesus' name. God bless you.
And it's my pleasure to introduce to you a mentor of Lee Zeldin's, a partner of Lee Zeldin's, the great supervisor from the town of Brookhaven, the 70th supervisor, Edward P. Romaine. He was not afraid to stand up for the beliefs he had. He was not afraid to put it all on the line. And he represents us that way every single day. Now it's my pleasure to introduce another speaker, Captain Brandon H. Wheeler.
We need politicians who are willing to do whatever it takes to destroy these fascists who want to take away your freedom. We need great leaders who understand the problem, who will listen to guys like me and face reality. Saying thank you is welcome and gratitude is appreciated. But put your words into action and vote for Lee Zeldin in this upcoming election. I want to take a moment to introduce another patriot, a true fighter of freedom, and a true protector of this nation. You may know her as a star actress in a movie called Clueless. You may know her as a Fox News commentator. But I know her as a great American and a patriot. It is my honor and privilege to introduce to you Miss Stacey Dash.
Republicans value freedom above all else. Freedom from restrictions on our economy, freedom to keep more of what we earn, freedom from failed public schools, freedom from the crippling social programs that keep us in poverty, freedom from low expectations, and in reality, and deep down, freedom from racism. Lee Zeldin understands that, and that's why I support Lee. He is serving his country as a major in the Army, Reserves, and as a member of Congress. And he is leading the fight for the American values and policies such as economic and job growth, national security, taking care of our military, including our veterans, and improving health care and education for everyone. Please help me welcome Congresswoman Mia Lund.
Hello, New York. How are you? I'm still trying to figure out how the one Jewish Republican guy got the two black Republicans. He and I are really good friends. I've known him for a while, and I'm always asking, how did you get Diana? Like, how did that work? And it's so funny because every time he asks me to do something, I'm always there, so I guess I can answer my own question. I have to tell you, it's what Stacey was talking about is so important for us today. We see our nation changing in a direction that I think is very concerning. But I'm here to tell you that there's hope. When my parents immigrated to the United States from Haiti, legally, they were willing to come in, and they learned how to speak English. They studied American history. They studied the Constitution. As a matter of fact, They would tell you that they knew more about American history at the time than most Americans did. And when they pledged their allegiance to the American flag for the first time, they said not only did they know what they were saying, but they meant every word of it. Woo! Weren't willing just to take on the blessings of being a citizen of this country, but they were willing to take on the responsibilities of being a citizen in this country. I am also proud to tell you that my father's first vote for American president was Ronald Reagan, so that's a bottom. I just want you to know why I believe in the things I believe in. I'll tell you a quick story, and then you'll know how I got to be the way I am. My parents taught me lessons very subtly. My dad, he would, whenever I wanted something, I don't know why he did this, but he would actually make me write an essay as to why I needed it. Now understand, I'm the youngest child, so I had it easier than the rest. So he would make me write an essay, and after I wrote this essay, if I convinced him that I needed this item, he would say, "Great, honey, let's go figure out how we can get you to pay for half of it." So my mom, on the other hand, she was a little bit more subtle in the lessons that she taught me. This will come full circle in a second. My mom, if she saw, every time we turned on the TV, we would look around the corner to see if mom was there. Because if mom was there, she would come around, turn off the TV and say, "Go do something productive. Go." So one day I thought I was going to teach her a lesson. I said, "Okay, fine." And I took a friend of mine and I said, "We're going to go make something in the kitchen. We're going to go and cook something." I made what many of you made. It may look like a cobbler. I'm not sure if that's what you would call it. But I remember putting a bunch of fruit and a bunch of like oats and something, and I stuck it in the oven and the whole thing bubbled over. And there was a sticky mess at the bottom of the oven. So that every time for weeks, my mom would turn on the oven and it would smoke everyone out of the kitchen. And it's funny because it was one weekend when I came in, I saw my mom scrubbing the oven and cleaning out the oven. Well, fast forward. And I am in my first campaign, in which we lost by 768 votes. You'll never forget that number. And I catch my mom, she came in to help me, and I catch my mom sticking a lasagna in the oven. So I run over, I grab the lasagna out, grab a cookie sheet, line it with aluminum foil. I take the lasagna, I put it on the cookie sheet, and I stick it in the oven. And my mom said, "Mia, what are you doing?" I said, "Mom, this might bubble over." And she said, "Do you remember what you did to my oven?" I said, "Yes, Mom, but I paid for this oven." And it's funny because they're still teaching me lessons, because she said, "Now you know why your dad made you pay for everything," because they knew that if you had some skin in the game, that if you worked hard for something, you would own it. It would be yours. You would cherish it and you would take care of it. They taught me that I wasn't entitled to anything I didn't own, earn for, work for, or pay for myself. And I am grateful for those lessons. I am grateful because it's those lessons that allowed me to be a successful mayor. It's those lessons that allowed me to give the people that I was serving a voice. I may not be able to save everyone from everything, but I know for a fact that at least I'm giving them the power and the chance to do it themselves. And to me, that's very American. Do I believe that we have an obligation to care for those who cannot care for themselves? Yes. Yes, I do. Do I believe that if we have resources to help take care of our neighbors, we should use those resources? Absolutely. But I also believe that the day we need a federal government to force us to do what we know we should do is the day that we are less than America. Now, I have to tell you, I don't know how many of you guys know, Lee is one of my best friends in Congress, and we're very close. Our families are very close. As a matter of fact, one of the children, one of his girls is going to marry my son. Diana and I have planned it. in spite of their father. Yeah. No, but we are a very close knit family. We have, it's really interesting. We spent Easter together, and I have to tell you, there is no better patriot in the United States Congress than Lee Zeldin. I am not just saying this. I can tell you firsthand that there are times where we are in the cloakroom and Lee is never idle. He's either on the computer, working on something, or really stressing out about a vote and getting down to his principles. I'm telling you, this is a person that goes out and fights for New York harder than I've ever seen anybody else fight for the state of New York. It gives me hope. It gives me hope. When I first met Lee, I thought he was quiet. I kind of had this idea that Lee is kind of like quiet. I was like, how did this guy get elected to New York? I mean, as a senator in the New York State legislature as a Republican, like, how did that happen? And I remember just kind of like putting him off beside. We met at this Aspen Rodale leadership before we became members of Congress. And he told me this story, and I'm going to leave it with this. He told me this story that, you know, how he was this kid that signed up for karate, and he was always just this lanky kid, and everybody thought, you know, that they can beat him. He said that you get two types of people. You get one that sits back and waits for somebody to come after them, and then you get somebody that just goes full force. And he said, you know, I would just kind of like, these people would kind of like wait, and they would see blood. They would, like sharks, they would see blood in the water because he was so lanky and so kind of and tiny. I guess, as a kid. Lee, it's as a kid, not as an adult, Lee. As a kid. And he said that he would just go crazy. And the judges or the refs didn't know where the punches were coming from, so they would just give it to Lee. And he went on to like win like some state championship with that method. And I have to tell you that Lee is on the ground, on the floor, fighting all day. I don't know if you've seen any of his floor speeches, but my favorite line from Lee was, "Mr. President, you are the leader of the free world. Act like it." The time has come for us to go to places that we've never been before, because our children are learning that this country is less than perfect. They're thinking that other countries do it better. As a matter of fact, they're being taught in schools that this is not a place that is worth fighting for. And that really sears my soul, because we still live in the greatest country on earth. And it's because of one thing, and it's the main thing that we're fighting for. We live in the greatest country on earth because of freedom. Freedom to be, that's what our soldiers fought for. Freedom is what my parents left Haiti for. They didn't leave Haiti to come here and find out that the president wants to be the executive, legislative, and judicial branch. Freedom is what allows people to take all of their funds and their efforts to put in and take a risk, to put into something that just might work and provide funding and prosperity for their families. Freedom is what every man and woman that puts on a uniform, that goes to a foreign land and risks their lives to fight for. That's what they're fighting for. Not some idea of hope and change. Not for distribution of wealth. Not for pretty much enslaving the American people, but it's freedom. It's having the opportunity to fail. Because failure is not final. My parents failed many times. And only in this country can we as people, there's no way that we are ever predestined to be poor. That if we work hard enough and we save and we're educated and we're thrifty, that is the thing that's better than any government program that's out there.
Ladies and gentlemen, not for the first time, but for every time, let America hear. Ladies and gentlemen, your Congressman, our Congressman, America's Congressman, Lee Zeldin. Yeah.
backstage with Diane and the girls, and as I was listening to Mia talking about her upbringing, Diane and I decided we were going to send the girls to Mia's for the summer. Get some good parenting advice. You know, it was nearly 2 years ago. We were about a half mile from here, standing on a stage, looking at your faces after this group ousted a 12-year ethically challenged, legislatively challenged. And I remember looking at your faces, and the first few words out of my mouth, just I saw it from your faces, was, "Victory is sweet." And it was sweet. It was sweet because I knew how hard all of you worked, knocking on doors, making calls, talking to friends for years. This was a victory for all of you. That was a long time coming. Now here we are. It's 2016, so much at stake, and we come together again with a shared love of our community and country, a shared passion for our freedoms and liberties, and knowing this group, knowing how much it's at stake, pretty confident I know what the answer is going to be. But is this group going to allow the Clintons back into the White House?
No way!
Is this group going to put a speaker's gavel back in Nancy Pelosi's hands? This group's not going to let Chuck Schumer become the majority leader, right? When I got to Congress, and I'll tell you, it is a privilege to serve there. It was an honor to wear our nation's uniform and still wear our nation's uniform. As some of you may know, the most popular job in the United States of America is the American soldier, polls with an approval rating of higher than 90%. And the American politician is the least popular job in the United States of America, polling with an approval rating of less than 10%. So you could say that I have the most popular job in the country and a worst job in the country at the same time. But there's so much to be fighting for. And I believe that it's time for a new era of American strength. I believe that we have to do so much more to protect our security both here at home and abroad, to help grow our economy, to fight for our veterans and our first responders. Whether we're looking at our infrastructure, our kids, the quality of their education, the health care, for all of us, there is so much worth fighting for. Now, people have told me, Lee, you've done more in your 18 months in Congress than your predecessor did in 12 years. And just to put a little bit of perspective on that, because I want to be completely fair and here to everybody, we did more in our first 18 days than he did. Just saying. So that was what we got used to here, and we can't go back to that. In my first 18 months, we got all sorts of bills across the finish line, passed, signed into law. My Safe Bridges Act, passed and signed into law to get funding for our local bridges. My Common Core proposal to allow states to opt out of Common Core without penalty from the federal government, passed and signed into law. The House passed my Counterterrorism Screening and Assistance Act to stop foreign travel abroad and protect the homeland. 3 pieces of legislation to help our veterans passed by the House of Representatives. Whether it's saving Plum Island, that was passed. Opening up the coastline off of Montauk for striped bass fishing, that was passed as well. One effort after the next. I knew that after you all worked so hard 2 years ago, that I couldn't possibly come back to you asking for your support again. If you weren't able to go back to all those same people you spoke about, asking for their support last time, telling them that this is how he came through and kept his commitments like I told you he would. Nancy Pelosi, Tim Bishop, And whoever is unlucky enough to win a Democratic primary in 8 days, there's something from Mia's story of the way that I did fight when I was in karate. I was listening to the story. I had no idea that she was going to tell this story. And it's true. I would kind of get there at the starting line, and I would just put my hands down, and I just looked like such a great target. And the moment that my opponent would make any type of move, I'd flip out. And I would throw like 1,000 punches and kicks. And Mia was right. The judges would just give me a point, figuring that somewhere in there, something landed. And for anyone watching at home, because I know that we are blessed to have Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee trackers in here, there is something beautiful to keep in mind. After a hard-fought, bloody primary where they're spending all of their money, is that as you look around this room and the hundreds of people who are here and the hundreds more people who are ready to make calls and knock on doors, is that we are ready next Tuesday night to throw so many punches and kicks with our message go in the right direction. Losing's not an option. Losing's not an option. There's too much at stake. We still have a lot more work to do. And when I think about our national security and the need to protect the homeland, listen, there is only one mandatory function constitutionally of our federal government. That's to provide for our national security. That's it. There's just one mandatory function in the entire Constitution. Everything else has been up to debate. And after 8 years of this president, who looks at himself as both president and Congress at times, I'm ready to take back my country. Well, radical Islam right now is at war with the United States, but our president is not yet at war with radical Islam. I believe it's time to start strengthening our relationships with our friends and treating our enemies like our enemies. We're watching Israel be treated like Iran and Iran be treated like Israel. Israel is a beacon of freedom and hope in a very dark region of this world. And we should be strengthening our relationships with them. And other allies are watching and they're saying, if this is how the United States is going to act towards Israel, how will they act towards us? And meanwhile, our enemies are all testing us and they're watching each other test us. Russia goes into Syria and Ukraine. Submarines off of the Georgia coast and the Pacific coast. China 12 miles off the Alaskan coast. Nation building in North China Sea. North Korea turning on a nuclear reactor and threatening the United States as they do it. Iran, the world's largest financer of terrorism, overthrowing foreign governments, pledging to wipe Israel off the map, chanting death to America, calling Israel the little Satan and America the great Satan. And they're all watching each other test us. And we say we can't be silent. Our political opposition claims wrongfully that they say that's because we want war. We don't want war. We don't want to be silent because we want to prevent it. There are a whole lot of options between silence and war. And when you embarrass our 10 Navy sailors with propaganda of photographs and video, if you want to have one of your Russian planes fly right by one of our naval warships, if I was the commander of that ship and the rules of engagement allowed me to, that plane would have been knocked out of the sky. And a nation without borders is not a nation at all. And when we talk economic opportunity and national security, economic opportunity for the people who are here in this country and on this island legally, who are being deprived of opportunities because others are cheating the system. And we talk about compassion for the people who are not here legally. What about the compassion for the person who's not here legally because they went to their local consulate saying, I want to go to America. I want to pursue the American dream. How do I get there? And because they're following the rules, they're not quite here yet.
an important election not because we're electing a new president for 4 years. We're choosing the fate of the Supreme Court for the next 40. And in our little corner of America, we're going to do our part. We're going to send our message that we do not approve of the Clintons going back into the White House. The keys are not going back into their hands. That gavel is not going back into Nancy Pelosi's hands. Chuck Schumer, good luck as the next minority leader of the United States Senate. Our campaign officially starts tonight, and I need your help. I need your help again, knocking on doors and making calls, going on social media and sending those emails. I don't take your support for granted one bit. Every single day, I spend time during my day to reflect on the amount of time that all of you have put in through the years and the fact that you are all here tonight. And hopefully, in just over 4 months, we all gather again, maybe a half mile from here, as we remind ourselves that victory is sweet, a new president is elected, and we're celebrating not only Donald Trump as the next president of the United States, but we're going to make sure that he has a Congress to work with. Let's give a big round of applause to Marine combat veteran Brandon Wheeler. I didn't recognize when I saw him. Last time I saw him, he was clean shaven. He literally just returned from the Middle East. How about a big round of applause for the lovely and talented. She is a Fox News contributor, she's the actress, she's an author. One day I would love to be able to write a book. I don't know how she does it. But give a big round of applause to Stacey Dash. And my best friend from Congress, she is the first black Republican woman in Congress. She's the first Haitian American woman. She's Mormon to boot. She's like all sorts of firsts. Big round of applause for Congresswoman Mia Love. There are so many people behind me right now who have worked so hard through the years, many filling jobs that have proven to be quite thankless at times, but they do it anyway. We have some great elected officials and other party leaders behind me who have been incredible, loyal, hardworking with their support. Give a big round of applause for all of our elected officials and party leaders who are here. My wife and daughters, Diana, Michaela, Ariana, they are my three, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. These are my three most important constituents. Yeah! Michaela and Ariana are finishing the 4th grade right now. They're not happy about it. They're not happy about it because they love their teachers. And these girls, they were less than a pound and a half when they were born. They were born 14 and a half weeks early, and accepting prayers in about 16 different religions and great doctors and nurses. They're here now. And my wife, Diana, who takes these girls to softball, gymnastics, dancing, she works full time, and she's here. And I just want to say thank you. This room is filled up with veterans. How about a big round of applause for all the veterans who are here? And finally, I also want to thank, we have a lot of members of our team. They've worked so hard. We've successfully closed over 3,000 constituent cases in our office. We got a new Veterans Health Clinic opened in Manorville, permanently reauthorizing the Zadroga Act, as was mentioned earlier, stopping the medical device tax. Just give a round of applause to my staff, my team is here. They work so hard. I appreciate everything they do. Work on the weekends, holiday weekends. So it's time for a new era of American strength. It's time to defeat radical Islam. It's time to end illegal immigration. We need to repeal and replace Obamacare. Stop Common Core. Right? There is so much worth fighting for. On to victory this November.